two sets of minutes. We'll start with the shortest one, which is of course the public hearing for the budget. Additions, corrections? No? Look for a motion?
Motion.
Second.
John?
Yes.
Mike? Yes. PJ?
Yes. And the minutes, which I know she got our road report included in those this afternoon. I looked at the incomplete version earlier, and besides that, they looked okay. Any comments, corrections?
Motion to approve.
We got a motion, and I'll second that.
John?
Yes.
Mike? Yes. PJ?
Yes. Okay, let's see, we go to invited guests with issues we're going to discuss tonight. Let's start with Mike Woodward. He's from the road department. He's been doing some work. We've been talking, oh gosh, I think probably since the first of the year about replacing a piece of equipment that we use primarily to load salt trucks. But it does other jobs that fit its abilities through the year, and well, we've been running about a 45-year-old loader now, I think it is.
Well, our current loader is an A62 loader that was used when we got it. It was repowered at the time. We've been running it since 2006. It's starting to get tired. Parts are getting a little bit hard to find, especially in the transmission side. We were talking about it the last couple of years. It kept being on kind of the wish list of we needed to keep it on the radar to replace it. So right now we, what I was looking at is proposing the board to replace that unit, try to get the best money we can out of it on gov deals since it's still running and it's moving. If it stops moving now, we possibly could have a parts machine. And that, I mean, it's did us well over the years. We put minimum amount of money into the unit, but it's time to look at upgrading the unit. So, what I did is we looked at 2 units. We looked at the Caterpillar smaller wheel loaders. We looked at a 910 up at Van Ness Supply, and then we looked at a 908. Was a little bit smaller over at GAR Pay to just get a physical size and an idea of what we're looking at. That would be the smallest but the biggest punch for the value and what it would do. And when we started going through that, we decided the size that we're looking at was the Cat 910. Case did not have a unit comparable in that size. He had a larger unit, was a heavier unit. We thought it was overkill and was considerably more than what our target budgetary numbers were. John Deere did bring us out a unit. We looked at it. It was a little bit bigger, but we weren't overly bowled over by it. And I was looking at a series older. I was not able to look at the newest series with bigger cab, and supposedly there was changes. So that kind of put them on the bubble that what are we really looking at? We're buying an older unit hoping that the changes are better. But we looked at it in the aspect of also of what the serviceability, if we had to replace a hose, and since this is in the salt the 90% of the time, we're looking at accessibility to try to keep this unit clean. Being able to get where we needed to get to blow it out, pressure wash it out, spray salt neutralizer if we had to replace a hose. The John Deere, it seemed a lot tighter. It seemed it was a lot harder to get to the nooks and crannies on it. The Caterpillar, when we looked at it, you were able to stick your head where it pivots in the middle, and we were able to look all the way back to the engine, lift up the hood. You were able to clean from the back all the way forward and forward up to the front axle. So we did a bunch of back and forth with John Deere and Caterpillar with the options that we thought that we wanted, options that we said we can mix this option to give us this option. Which one of the big things that is we wanted, I made sure that all the machines were quoted that it had the road gear in it, that it goes 23, 24 miles an hour. In case we get storm damage, if we have to go and push drifts, we want this to be able to move as quick as our backhoe. Everything that we rode moves in that 23 to 25 mile per hour range. The grader moves that quick, the boom mower. Without that gear, we'd be going down the road at 12 miles an hour. So we felt that that was one of the options that we really, really wanted. And when I had them spec it out, basically, it gave us AC, heat, radio, the safety lights, the backup alarms on it. It was pretty much stripped down to just about the bare bones, but gave us just enough amenities to be able to do our job, you know, to be out of the salt or be out of the cold. So, as I put in front of you, I put a quick spreadsheet showing what the price is. I did do some quick, I put all the quotes in there from each one of the dealers on the units. So I guess I'm asking the approval of the board that we're looking at the Caterpillar, the 910M, to replace our current A62 and gov deal the A62 out after approval from the board. Start trying to move that unit down the road. So, is there any questions from the board?
I do want to thank you guys when you had the demos and called me.
Right.
I think we all knew about it. And, rainy day, and I got to look at the same thing you guys are looking at.
Right.
So I fully understand what you're talking about.
Well, I think it's time that 40 years was a pretty good service like that of the A62.
Pretty good run with that one, yeah.
Seeing as how we have $10,000 invested in that.
And we have minimal upkeep. I think the biggest,
But very slow. It's
Right.
we're gonna hit a point where we're not gonna be able to buy any parts or anything.
right, because I do know that the transmission parts are getting hard. I do know that Roger Fugman, he came and borrowed our service manual trying to get his back up and going. And he chased around for parts. So that's kind of, he's working on his way more than ours. I don't know what kind of hours he has, but like I said, I think it's the time of maybe Farmer Bob will buy it, and hopefully it gives him a good life on it, or somebody's looking for pieces, parts off it. But the unit would be sold as a whole operational unit. So,
Well, I guess the other question that I just have, this is the consensus of all you guys, that this
Right.
is the machine that
right,
you want.
Mark looked at it, Mike looked at it. We did have the John Deere and the Caterpillar in-house for about a week each. So we were loading aggregate with it, you know, checking the visibility, making sure it reaches over our sideboards, that the unit was gonna work well for the trucks. And the smaller unit, we could have reached up in it, but you were sitting down lower like the backhoe and you were trying to look up over the side instead of sitting up higher, looking at what you were doing instead of looking up to it, so. But that was nice that both the dealers brought us out a machine, and it just wasn't, hey, we're gonna drop it off this morning and take it back the next morning. It allowed Mr. Eberly to look at them. PJ looked at them. I think you were on vacation some of the days, Mike, so. But,
Well, you guys have always done a good job of picking our equipment out. You haven't failed us yet. So I would follow your recommendation without reservation.
thank you.
I'll make a motion that we purchase the Caterpillar 910M for $103,328. We also delivery.
Deliveries include,
What?
delivery time frame. Right now, they're speculating the first half of December due to that. When we pulled basically what I did is I took a standard machine and I pulled it back a little bit to take off stuff that we didn't need, so they call it a custom machine. Right now, when I talked to the dealer on Friday, they're speculating the first half of December. But he said if they decide to start running, they call them a lane 2, which is a custom, that our delivery frame could be scooted up, but they won't know to, their inventory guy says, hey, Cat's switching to do more of the customs and not the standards. So what we're proposing is sell the A62, like I said, put that money in the bank. If we do get snow, we can still use our Cat backhoe to load. And then what we did prior, in the earlier years when I started, then take that one back apart and really get it clean, because it shouldn't have to go in the salt. Try to, paint what we need to, salt neutralize, spray fittings on it to get a longer longevity out of that. Because in all rights, that machine shouldn't need to see the salt again after we clean it
I
up.
think we're looking at a 20-year machine here, though, at least.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the accessibility and how we can take care of it, and we got a bunch of good guys that, they value that the board does give us nice equipment. That should easily be, I should never have to come back to the board for another machine.
No, I think that's a good idea, and you might find some township that's thinking they would like to replace our backhoe with a loader,
Right.
because we did that once,
All right.
so, yeah.
All
I
right,
think,
it's
I think that'll
a
work.
step up, and hopefully they get their, but it could be a farmer, it could be a little little landscape supply house. I mean, I think the market's out there,
Yeah, I do too.
so.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Okay, John made a motion to buy that. Do we get a second?
Oh,
No.
second.
Mike's gonna second that.
John,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
Okay, then I'm gonna follow up with a motion to list the A62 on Gov Deals.
Okay, I'll second.
is there a reserve on that?
The reserve for the A62, I'm gonna speculate, I've heard a couple numbers, I'm gonna try at 5,000.
5 or 6,
See what that brings us. The old boom mower, well, I didn't make the reserve the first time, and I got excellent money the second time. So I think that this is gonna be, it's gonna be one of these, it's gonna take a little bit of time, but I think that the buyer's out there. Man.
John,
Motion to put that in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mike,
Yes.
PJ?
Yes.
Okay, as long as Mike is still here, I just wanted to also say, we had put a lot of other equipment up, the old truck, and the guys did an excellent job. You can give us
Yeah.
a little breakdown,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think we did really well.
What we've been doing, working on Gov Deals, is we've been getting rid of surplus. The purpose of Gov Deals is for municipalities and governmental entities to be able to get rid of surplus or unused equipment on a auction format, so we don't have to go to a sealed bid on every article. And basically what I did is, the A62 will be the third set of equipment I've got rid of. First set we got rid of was our old mower for the park that we didn't use because we're subcontracting those services out. We upgraded our chainsaws, we got rid of that the first round, did very well with them. Second round, we got rid of some smaller stuff, speed sign, an old auger that needs work, our old engine hoist we didn't use anymore, and the truck was the biggie. That was the pivotal of trying to move our old truck 19 to get it out the door. So we've been doing very good on it. The truck took a little bit of patience, everything else has been pretty successful. So the third round will be, the chief has a hose washer to put up. We're putting the A62 up. I have an old salt spreader that we don't use anymore that came off old 15. And since we have a generator for our new shop, I'm gonna put that old generator up And that should be the last round of what we feel is surplus that's in the shop.
So as we're talking about this, maybe you can address who's buying these things. I know at one point I heard that one of those chainsaws went to Florida.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a market you're not gonna reach advertising in the news.
Right. I've had a chainsaw, I went to Tallahassee, Florida, didn't make it anymore, didn't realize it. The guy wanted it, his got stolen. He sent the UPS store to come pick it up because we don't ship anything. The zero-turn mower went to Bucyrus. I had a ODOT guy that bought the chainsaw, I think he was down around Northfield. The engine hoist today went to Warren, a guy wanted it. Old truck 19's going to Munson, a paving contractor bought it. Initially, that boom mower that we were talking about, the old Leaky Pete, that went to North Carolina. So it shows how much people are watching these pieces. So, but with the old truck 19, I had calls from Missouri, Virginia, Tennessee. So it's getting out there that people know to watch after the stuff because it's maintained well and it has relatively low hours on it.
Systems, and the system seems to work pretty well.
Yeah.
You're reaching out way beyond,
Right.
Legal aid.
Right.
Thank you.
Cool.
All right, got a phone call today, and we got Randy Miller. Okay, we do public comment, usually at the start and at the end. So rather than ask you to wait till the end, can we get to you now?
Sure.
Gentlemen, thanks for having me. My wife Lori came along with me. We've been in Auburn 18 years now, 19 years, something like that. We lived up on Meadow, we downsized, moved over to Munn, 4 houses up from the corner, and enjoyed the backyard of the park up until this year. Started noticing it last year, having a massive problem with these Canadian thistles, taking over everything. It's destroying my flower beds. I rebuilt my flower beds twice, and the icing on the cake, or the straw that broke the camel's back, was yesterday. It was like a snowstorm in my backyard, guys. My air conditioning condenser, it's sucking all those seeds up in the condenser. It's plugging my condenser up. It's getting to a point where it's costing me a lot of money now.
They're like 4 feet now, the weeds. They were cut last year several times, and we never had a problem. And
I'm not a big, let's keep it 4 inches off the ground guy, I mow 30 feet into the park's property just so that it looks better and I can try and reduce the how bad it's growing. I even took fill dirt and went in and filled some of the ruts because whoever was taking care of that just rutted it all up and it was really difficult to mow. So I put fill dirt in, I threw grass seed down on Tony Ginto, who's next to me. Him and I have been kind of trying to fill in some of the ruts so we can put some grass seed down and try and get it to at least look a little nicer back there on the corner. But it's gotten beyond ridiculous.
Yeah, I understand your problem. I mow a few fields myself, and it's been difficult to get out there. I'm not gonna make all these excuses because the weather's been there for maybe 3 weeks now to get on these fields without cutting it up with the equipment we do that with. But everybody was backed up into middle, late June with the wet weather.
Well,
We got behind.
And I know it's been
We did get
difficult
behind.
because it's
Yeah.
been wet, but
Yeah.
this last couple of weeks would have been the time to get it, because you have to get it before it goes to seed. Once
And
it goes to
that
seed, it's a
is everywhere.
nightmare.
I see it too. Yeah.
Okay.
I fully understand.
And I don't think you were asking much. I mean, Jack and them tell me I'm wasting my time coming up here, but, I've been here 20 years, you guys seem pretty reasonable. I don't think it's much to ask to get somebody out there to just whack it down.
Well, it's within our plans. We've actually run, it would have been done had weather permitted. First and foremost, that's what I want to tell you. It didn't, and we're backed up now. We're behind the eight ball. Road projects started at the same time. You can go mow.
Well,
or
the
you can
gentleman
go
here
ditch.
said that it was subcontracted because they got rid of the mower. I'd assume that's the mower for that
No,
property.
that part isn't subcontracted.
That's not subcontracted.
No, it's just the grass that we
Yeah, just
subcontract.
clean fields.
But
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't need it mowed once a week, it's just, we need
We're
to keep it down
certainly-
before it
yeah,
goes to
I-
we
seed.
certainly
understand.
can't do
I
that, but
understand.
we will be mowing it again for the picnic with that mower.
That's
And
September
then you
though,
have
isn't
to
it?
also just understand this year has been rough because we basically have 4 guys. And we have to prep all the roads for the road projects, for the bid out projects, so the contractors could get in. Then we have, then we gotta tackle these other little projects, and it's just, this year was rough with all the rain. It just was really
Well, it
rough.
started
I'm really
last year.
sorry you had the problem,
I mean,
and
with all due respect, it started last year, because it got moved maybe once last year, maybe twice.
we mowed it twice
And
last year.
the thistles just absolutely destroyed my beds.
Yeah.
And, like I said, I'm not a giant landscaper guy, I don't even like doing landscaping, but I
Yeah.
like to keep my property looking decent. And it's a losing battle, and I can't use
Yeah,
Roundup
we mowed it.
anymore.
I do know
We all
we
know
mowed
what
it
Roundup
twice
does, it
last
causes
year.
cancer, and, so I can't get out there and spray the stuff. And once that Canadian thistle gets in the beds, you cannot get rid of it. I've been fighting it for 2 years now. And like I said, when I went out and saw my brand new air conditioning condenser full of stuff, and I had to go out there and tear it apart and clean it, that pushed me over the edge.
Well, we're trying to address this too. We've run a
Okay.
couple of ads for a seasonal position to do things like mowing, because there's a need there. And we do have an applicant here we're gonna talk about later on tonight. But, yeah, I'm just gonna say, hay and fields and things got away from you this year, and it's no different with a small garage than a small farm or a big farm this year. So there's a lot of that going on.
Is there any way you could make an exception just for this year because the weather had been so rainy and you couldn't get to it? Could you subcontract it out just once to be cut before the picnic? Because the
We
picnic's
are
in
gonna cut it.
September.
No, we're gonna cut it.
Now, you said for the picnic, but
Yeah.
that's
No, you can
September,
cut
that's
before
a
that.
long way away.
It'll get done
2
before then.
weeks.
It'll be done before then. And we'll do it before the picnic as well. then.
Yeah, we'll do it in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'd like to make a comment to go on record to say we've been residents here, like my husband said, and I think the road service is excellent. We have never lived in a community where it's been that fast. I tell everybody I talk to in other communities that Auburn's got the best as far as snow plowing, we can always get out. They take care of the roads and we're really appreciative of that.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
The only thing you
Those are
don't
the
like
same
is that we
guys.
paved Mon Road, and now it's a drag strip for real.
That'll happen,
So if we could
yeah.
slow it
Yeah,
down,
That goes with the territory.
Well, Tony tells me they've been drag stripping there since he was a teenager, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you might wanna talk to Jack Trethaway.
Yeah.
Who was with,
But, we deal with that, I just, we just need some help. It's really,
sorry you had the
it's at seed,
problem.
and if we can get them knocked down in this week, it'll help, because some of them are still not even coming to seed. I mean, Tony's yard, my yard, Jack's yard, it looks like it snowed over there.
It does.
You
I
cannot
see
get rid of it.
Up close and personal.
If you're looking for extra income, we do have a seasonal job.
Mr. Chairman, you have a question?
I'm working 16 hours a day now.
Without using Roundup, could you use any broadleaf herbicides to
You can.
knock it back?
Yeah, you can.
Well, with well water, I don't really, the thought of any herbicides over there, it's just,
And I understand that too. We did, those were farm fields, and there were a lot of chemicals used on there for weed control. Well, corn was in there and other crops.
Where's your well at?
No, they're
my
not.
well's up by the house, but still, it's
Spraying
when the wind blows, I'm not a treated chemical kind of guy. I mean, literally, all you gotta do is just cut it down before it seeds.
Yeah, it's
One
cheap,
thing
it's
did
cheap,
work, I
it's
cut the
cheaper when you
tops and I
can
put
do
vinegar
it.
right in it.
Yeah.
Right in
Like I
the-
said, I would even mow further
That
back,
held
but
it.
it's so rutted
But then I
because
read that
whatever they did
roots are
there
so deep,
before the weeds grew up,
coming back.
Tony said they plowed it once and then they kept using some kind of cutter that just kept digging ruts in it. And, I don't mind plowing, mowing a little bit further back, but I've gotten about as far back as I can go. And it's just really, it's really rutted beyond where it is now. You almost need a brush hog, so.
You do.
Mower, it's just too
Yeah,
rough for a
and
mower.
that's what we're gonna do it with. It's
Right.
gonna be the,
Right, that unit that we bring up there, I'll bet you, it probably weighs 18,000 pounds. So we do try to lighten it up by taking the boom mower head off of it, but it's still, when you're mowing, it's hard to see the soft
Yeah.
spots. Cause I did mow it a couple years
Well, we-
and then we had another gentleman that we hired that started doing it
And
for
when we
me.
filled in, Tony and I had filled in a lot of that area between his property and my property where it just turned into a swamp.
Right.
And that's where I threw grass seed down. We've kind of got that leveled off so it dissipates the water better, but
Right.
it's pretty dry right now. So I mean, if they get out there this week, it's not supposed to rain until they're saying Wednesday or Thursday.
Wednesday.
tomorrow.
Not to put you on the spot, but I was talking to you and Mike Fenster today. We were all saying within a couple of weeks, they're working on that now to get the tractor reorganized to
Right.
mow.
Unfortunately, we've got $1 million worth of contracts that have to be, the road has to be ready for the contractor to come in.
And those were pushed back this year
That's
as
our
well
highest,
because of the weather.
unfortunately, that's our highest. I know as a taxpayer, you'd want us to do that, make that our highest priority. But we have to get that done before the contractors can come in. And, it's, like I said, with 4 guys, I wanted to get it cut, but we just couldn't get up there, you know, we just couldn't do it.
All right,
We're working on it, thank you.
Get her done.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay,
all right.
thank you for listening.
Thank you. No problem.
I'd stick around, but
Now's when it's really gonna get good.
yeah, you gonna start yelling at each other?
No, that's never gonna happen.
No?
Oh, thank you.
No, I really, my schedule, it was really tough for me to get here tonight, but it's a.
Well, thanks for coming.
Dealt
Thanks for
with.
coming.
All right,
Thank
good
you,
night.
thank you for your attention.
And we really like Auburn, it's not personal.
We like you here, too.
Mow the damn grass, that's all.
I agree, all right, thanks. Okay, we're gonna go to some scheduled reports now. That'll be the 3rd week of the month is Chief Phillips, Navy update.
I have a couple things. First off, year-to-date calls is 313. We're down about 50 from last year at this time, which is kind of good news. We had the one licensed fireworks show on 7/3, which has been a yearly thing, which is supervised by us and also controlled by the state fire marshal's office. But they got a license and it was a legitimate show, and we provided fire protection while the show was going on. Went through without any problems. July 4th parade went well. July 4th parade picnic, I should say. Despite the hot weather we had, it was miserable that day, but we still had pretty decent turnout. I want to thank the Boy Scouts for providing the lunch, which was great. They kind of took over for the Fire Devils, who are no longer doing it, and definitely we couldn't do it without them. Boys did a fantastic job. I heard nothing but positive reviews about it. I don't know if you want to add to that, Fred.
No, the kids did a great job. The adults that showed up did a great job helping out. You know, the scouts' parents. We had one guy outside working 2 grills, and it was hot out there.
Yeah.
I think he lost a couple pounds while he was out
If
there.
you have trouble with the dogs, the next time, I have a guy in reserve I can call them.
Yeah, well, he was on vacation.
Well, you can come from vacation.
Flatbed, yeah. Got a private jet.
It was a really good event. I heard nothing but good things from everybody that came through the line. Everyone was thrilled to see the scouts there. So I think they'll probably want to do it again next year.
I don't think we could do some of the events that we do without the Boy Scouts' help, to be honest with you. Pancake breakfast, the clam bake, 4th of July parade now. We have a fantastic troop here in Auburn, and I can't say enough for them. When the boys come up there, they're all professionals, and they do a fantastic job. And the parents help out too, and of course with Boy Scouting, the whole object is learning. And I can't say enough about our troop. I'm very proud to have them here in Auburn, so.
Yeah, it's service work.
Please relay that to them.
Service work for them, and they didn't make a whole lot of money out of it. They made a couple bucks. You know, they can buy half a tent or something. So they did okay.
Well, please relay to them that we really appreciate it, and they did a great job, Fred. We provided fire and rescue protection with Bainbridge Fire for the Kenston Fireworks Program on July 5th. As in past years, it was a great show. We had one issue with a drone that was flying over the crowd, which Bainbridge PD got right on it and took care of. I want to thank the Auburn and Bainbridge Road Departments for doing a great job of setting up and tearing down afterwards. You guys are fantastic. You know, again, it's everybody working together, and I think it created a successful show for our residents. But also Bainbridge Fire, or Bainbridge PD did a great job of handling our traffic control afterwards. Everybody got out of there orderly in a fairly quick manner. It went very smooth, I think, other than the fact that, again, it rained that afternoon, and it was pretty humid that night. So Mike, you want to add to that at all?
Yeah, it was, appreciate everybody being down there. The scouts were having I can think of, overnight wild camp out for,
They went canoeing in Canada.
yeah, so they were leaving early, so usually A&B Tire donates a 6-passenger golf cart, and the scouts typically tried that, but they weren't available because they were going to Canada, so I drove it myself. And a lot of appreciation for what those guys have to go through. It's, you know, when it first starts out, it's okay, because you're shuttling, mostly seniors, back and forth, but when you start getting in about 8:30, when everybody starts, you cannot get the golf cart through there. There's just bodies everywhere. So, and we found out that last year you really can't shuttle afterwards, because basically everybody's going out all at once. So I finished the shuttling about 8:30 and pulled it out of there before I ran anybody over, but seemed to be a good turnout based on the flow of people. About the same as last year, would you say?
It might have been slightly less. I think it was due to the heat. And it's like the parade, we had a little less turnout because it was, I mean, there's some senior citizens that told me they weren't coming out because it's too hot.
Yeah.
So I
Based
think
on
the weather
park-
had a
the
little
parking
bit
lot
of
was
an
pretty
impact.
well filled.
It was pretty close to what we had last year, I would say.
Yeah, so we estimated that 4,500, 5,000, something like that.
I'm gonna say there was probably 15 cars and a total of 40 people up at our park watching those fireworks that night as well. That secret's getting out.
Yeah, that's becoming a little more
Yeah.
popular. I stopped mentioning that at the meetings, because every time we do that, a few more cars go up.
That's right. It was fun.
Thank you and your people for being up there. I know it was hot, it was a long day, and the chief was on his feet the whole time, just walking the perimeter.
Well, we had the show inspection in the afternoon when they came to set up. They're a little bit late to begin with, and then we had a little bit of rain. So it kind of hampered things, but they did a great job of setting up, and we had everything done on time. It went good, we had no issues. So that's it for my report.
What do we got next year?
I think so. I didn't hear any negative comments from anybody.
No, it's,
Everybody that I spoke to, absolutely, they want to do it again next year. I mean, participant wise. Should get a little better, it being a Friday,
Yeah.
4th of July, so we'd probably be doing it Saturday, right?
yeah, they'll, if you do the same thing day after, that would work out good. 'Cause then we have a long weekend. 'Cause, yeah, we pretty much have it scheduled, because we did a 3-year bid this time through Bainbridge, so I think we're scheduled up for the day after for the next 3 years.
Oh, that's good.
I think one of the things that saved us on funding a little bit was the fact that we're offsetting the dates, so we're not hitting them on a prime date.
Well, that's specifically why we do that. We haven't done one on the 4th yet, and we're not going to, because doing it right on the 4th of July is probably 50% to double.
Yeah.
On the fireworks, so.
Yeah.
There's a lot done in June this year, because that was the weekend before. Yeah. Any fire department related questions for chief? Then we'll move into some trustee reports. We'll start with John Everly.
Okay, well, as we mentioned earlier, we're cruising in on finishing up the finishing touches for all of the contracted work that we have going on. We've had the pre-con meetings, and I think the start date is the 15th.
I think Chagrin Valley started on Taylor May today.
And there you go. So I think we're gonna make everything that we needed to get done.
Yeah, we're, on the township side, we're ready for the contractors. They can come in, do what they need to. The the berms are mowed so they can do the berming when they're ready, so if they can get the weather to hold up good, it should go relatively smooth.
Yeah,
So
I
we're
know.
definitely out of their way, so.
They were talking this morning, like a very small chance of rain tomorrow. When I walked out the door, they boosted it up to 60%.
Yeah.
So, that rain from the south is headed our way. It's raining down in Mansfield right now, and so, we're dodging the weather a little bit, but we've still got almost 4 miles of roads that we're going to be taking care of. The other thing we've been doing is we've been doing an awful lot of salting of the chips.
Putting limestone screenings on.
Putting the
You're
limestone
thinking winter already.
screenings down, and we've provided striping now that runs to Manaway and up to here, so.
And then it gets over about 80 degrees.
Yeah.
We even have one gentleman that comes in on the weekends, he's been doing it. He came in like Saturday at 10 o'clock in the morning before it starts tracking, get it down, to stop the tracking, and then he'll reload out of Lakeside, and then he comes back up. So if he had to come in on a Sunday, or if I have to come in, if he's doing something, that we can stay up on top of him.
Yeah, we had a little excitement on the first day that it really hit.
It took about a week to get them under control, and now
But
they seem to be.
there. I think we have, the problem's not solved by any means. One of the issues we do have, and it's scheduled for next year, is the surface on Bartholomew is not adequate to handle the traffic. We got heavy truck traffic going on there, and the cars per day, way too much for these chips to handle. So we do have a leveling course scheduled for that next year. And of course, that's going to increase those, because we're already getting calls, so people don't like the speed, and you're going to find that that's going to, of course, increase. But I think with the traffic we have, to have a hard, paved surface with striping, it's going to make a difference for safety.
Well, and I think that maybe the traffic might decrease after we surface pave it. Because
Maybe, but the bulk of those
it's hard
guys are cutting across
Right.
Barth.
to get them on or something, right?
You're cutting across Barth and going up Auburn here. And I don't know, maybe we can offer to send that one tanker driver some remedial driving lessons, because he's not able to make the turn here, he's not able to make the turn down on Bartholomew. But I mean, one of the problems is there is no through trucking anymore. It hasn't been for quite a while. Your road's supposed to handle an 80,000-pound load, so clearly our chips can't do that, and not with the number of cars per day. So we're working hard at keeping that done. And of course, the other thing is right now we're in the vacation season. And Emmerich's been on vacation for a week. He's going to be this week off, but we're basically running with 4 guys, and that's I can't send those guys out on vacation in January and December.
As we need them to plow.
We gotta have them. I think
How
it's
about early October?
really clear. Well,
I'm going in
when did you
October.
go
I
on
always go in
vacation?
October.
See, there you go, because you're a team player, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have vacation never. Yeah. So anyway, long story short is I think we're making real good progress. On a lot of these rainy days, we're still getting a lot accomplished. And we've made quite a few bucks bringing in, selling this stuff on Gov Deals. It takes a little bit of time, especially Mike's time, because you got to answer all the questions from these guys. Some guys want to come look at this stuff, and but we've probably brought in close to 20,000.
I think I'm just over. I think I'm right on track for
$21,000, which we're throwing back into the equipment fund. So when you're buying that, and if we can get another 6, who knows, for the 6, I don't wanna jinx us. Boy, it'd be nice if you subtract that from the cost of that loader, and now you're looking at a $75,000 loader.
Well, with the boom mower, that was
Yeah.
38,
By the time
38 or 40,000, and we got 9,000 for that boom mower.
That boom mower, we ended up with like 36,000. It was our out-the-door price. Once that time we sold Leaky Pete, and
I think we're down in the low 30s by the time we got rid
so
of
it was a hell of a, that was a real good deal that we did on equipment wise, so happy with that. So, one other little housekeeping thing, we've kind of, I don't know, I have to do this to placate the fire chief.
Well, blame it on me.
Is, you know, we do have a sprinkler system in the service garage, and the sprinkler system does need to be, that there's a pump and holding tanks in there. And so once a year, the state requires you to run a pump test. And so we do have a quote, each of you gentlemen, we've called a couple people, and we're gonna try to piggyback this a little bit with the fire departments testing their system. And so we have a quote there, and that's what this is about. To test, this will end up being a yearly expense, you know, but to test, to do this pump test. And there's one other thing that we have to have, that's not part of this deal, is we're gonna have to have some water.
Right.
Because they're gonna pump the water out of the storage tanks. I'm not quite sure I understand why it can't be pumped back into the storage tank, and, but for now, we're gonna have to then get a truckload of water. It might take 4,000 gallons of water to do this, you know, so.
Well, it's a 500-gallon minute pump.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, after they set it up and they purge it and run it for a little bit, if there's any issues, they might have to run a little bit more, or we're estimating how much water it might take. It might be less, it might be a little more. But that's something that we kind of have to deal with.
What do you do, sunrise on that, or?
Yeah. You gotta use drinking water essentially, otherwise you end up with a mess in that tank.
Well, if we use the water from the fire department, which we suck water up from ponds and
Yeah.
streams and stuff like that, it's not exactly the greatest water.
I don't think,
And that would create a bacterial issue if we put that water in those tanks and it's sitting there for a long time, which brings a whole nother host of things.
and the pump,
Right.
and that's not a cheap pump we have in there.
No, it's not.
So anyway, just to give you an idea, there'll be a little bit other, and there's also, in this quote, relocate the blow-off piping to the outside wall of the fire station. That won't need to be done again. Not of the fire station, of the service.
Pump house.
Pump house there, yeah.
And there's also a check valve that's
And there's
leaking
a-
that we have to
right.
fix.
So.
There's a little bit of maintenance involved with it too.
So, but then the costs should drop down the following year. So, I was gonna make a motion to.
Yeah, hang on, before you do that, I'm looking, it's kinda unclear here, we got 792 for
That's for the road garage.
garage, 790 on.
That's for the fire
That's for
department.
the fire department, now you got 5 1/4 for moving that pipe. Moving the blow-off pipe,
Right, that's in the pump house.
and then there's a bad ball valve on another pump, that's 260.
Right,
So
that's the
really, we're
chart
looking
pump.
at like, an annual thing here is gonna be like 800 for each building. But
Probably
then
about
you-
900.
Then you got
actually.
this additional work this year, totaling 785, right? Does that sound right? Okay, now I get it then. Okay. So what's our total there?
Yeah, we would put the fire department in with that, so that we're gonna have them out at the same time. They gave us a little bit of a discount for doing both jobs at the same time.
13. About 1560 plus water.
Correct.
Yeah. No, it's not.
It's
16, that's a.
1577 for the road garage and 790 for the,
Yes, 1600, 21.
plus the 790 again. That's total here.
Right,
Yeah,
because
those-
you're
those-
missing-
road garage.
You're missing that one.
That's the fire department.
That's the
This
fire
is just the road
department, this
garage.
is 790.
All right.
And another 790 for the.
So So I added up the road department on the side, PJ, and so you would know what the road department is.
Okay. But all that's plus a tank of water.
Right.
Any ballpark on what that was gonna be?
Uh,
I haven't bought Flint for a while, so.
I don't remember, John, how much,
Charges a couple $100.
yeah, it was, they gave us a discount last time they filled the tanks up. We think they'd do that again. We're figuring one load, if it's a little bit above, we could probably use some of the domestic water to top it off.
You want the water included in that, then we just overshoot a little bit here?
Well, the water.
No, because I'll do a
comes
separate
with
PO
different
for the water.
Alright.
If you could just do a requisition for the water
Okay.
for Sunrise.
All right, John's got a motion for this.
Second?
John,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
PJ?
Yes. Then you want a motion for necessary water to perform those?
Sure.
Okay, I'll make that motion then too. Motion to purchase necessary water from Sunrise.
Second?
John,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
PJ?
Yes. Okay, for your time to Mike.
Yes, sir.
All right, Mike, you're up.
I think everything I had to say was relative to the fireworks. I will concede the remainder of my time to the Fred May.
Got your regular reports in front of you, gentlemen. Fund status report, appropriation status report, and revenue status report. Payment listing warrants 5279 through 5305, totaling $65,560.91. Of note, warrant 5296 to tax exempt leasing corporation. That's for our annual payment on our service department truck of $35,852.80. And that's all I have.
Yeah, I only have one comment report-wise, because everything else is on the agenda, but Mike and Fred and I went to the Township Quarterly last week, and as their Lori Benz is doing her shameless plugs at the end, let's see, Irene McMullen from Munson promoted the Chagrin River Watershed Partners meeting, which is at Adam Hall, and then I went up and promoted our concert that we're gonna talk about at the end, at the Chagrin Valley Chamber of Commerce's. They're on the road concerts, they've been doing one in Auburn for 3 straight years now at Adam Hall. And then the Good Deeds program came up by another party for Adam Hall. So we got a busy place there when 3 entities from 3 different places are holding their events here, and I'm kind of proud of that, so. Everything else is on the agenda. We discussed at length, pretty long length, our non-conforming signage policy. These are like the warning signs that townships can put up. They're really not enforceable. And there's some question as to how effective they actually are. And thank Joan Demersion, you did a follow-up story on that that looked pretty thorough, I think, that our policy is pretty much in line with certainly our county engineers and most townships. And we're gonna review it again, and we'll bring that up, but at this point, we're not going to establish any different policy that we have at this point. We have, as I mentioned to the fellow that was in here earlier and his wife, we've been advertising for seasonal help with the road department to kind of fill in some of these blanks, and this year we particularly have a crunch. Mowing, roadside mowing, and I guess mowing, etc. Advertised twice, both times we required a commercial driver's license, which may or may not have affected the applicants, but we do have an applicant this time that is an equipment operator. He has some experience with that, and I think he's familiar with some of the people in the road department as well. And personally, based on some of the things we heard tonight and some of the looks of our roadsides, I think it'd be a good idea to interview this man and see if he can fill that position seasonal. And I'm available anytime. We can certainly check references, and we're gonna do that. I'm familiar with a couple of those guys. And whenever the rest of the board can see fit to do it, I'm there.
I'm flexible, so, yeah, my schedule's pretty open.
John?
I'm a very busy man, actually, not like you gentlemen. Let me know when you wanna do it.
We'll wake you up.
What's the 15th of July? Gonna do it next Monday? Or before? I'm good. I don't see this as taking a whole lot of time.
Well, can't do it tomorrow, but anytime after that.
Well, we got a Monday tradition here, so
Okay,
want to uphold that?
sure. Do I wait till 7:30 or do it over there?
I wouldn't go any earlier than 7, just for what I do. So, 7 o'clock. You good for that, Fred?
I won't be here.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Boy Scout camp.
Excused absence. Okay.
You're gonna get that badge yet, Fred?
I will. It's been
All right.
20 years. but-
So we'll be here at 7 o'clock for an interview that we'll advertise that, but that's going to be closed to the public for that job interview. And I guess based on that interview, let's see if we're gonna have another meeting. Higher.
Okay.
So let's see what happens there. Nancy's collecting some more of those electrical quotes on for doing some upgrading inside and outside at Adam Hall.
You know, let's just table that until we get all the quotes.
Yeah, there's a pretty wide discrepancy there in quotes, but I kind of figured there would be. But yeah, she's got a couple more gonna be trickling in, and I think we'll probably have a pretty good comparison to look at. And we've been looking at Adam Hall, power washing the concrete, the wall, the stone wall out front, the building. We did a power wash on Town Hall several years ago, and one thing we found is you wait 30 years, you're probably not gonna get the job you're gonna get done if you do it every 10, give or take. So we do have a quote from R.M. Breitzer, and he includes in that a repaint the stains in front from the ceiling on down. And that's on the entry, that's probably from gutters. And that total is $1,400 for a complete power wash of the entire building. Concrete walk, stone walk, stone fillers and building, and repaint the stains where I mentioned. That totals $1,400. I think that's
reasonable.
Very reasonable. I'm gonna make a motion to go with that.
I'll second.
John,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes. Okay, we got to Mr. Miller. I mentioned before that outdoor concert, which we had, it was a really nice event when we were able to hold it outside. Last year we tried, we had a big storm just as it was scheduled to go off, we used it inside. Not quite the same effect, but still a good time, and it's free, and it's a Beatles concert, or phony Beatles anyway, if anyone's interested in that. Band's called Rubber Soul. And our picnic's in September. Public comment? Craig?
Just a couple of things. My name is Craig Cerno. I rented out Adam Hall for the first time. Suggested change for Auburn residents. If you rent it for 4 hours, if you wanna do setup, you have to pay for that. You should do something for the residents so they don't have to pay. I mean, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's like you're paying your employee like $15 an hour or something to be there, but, I mean, people, if you want a 4-hour party, that means you gotta pay for 5, if you want an hour setup, and then if it goes past that, then you gotta pay for another hour there. Why not just make it accommodating, give them 30 minutes after, they can break their party down sooner, and give them, if it's a resident, give them an hour setup in front. I think it's a good business decision, it's not gonna cost it much. That's my opinion.
Well, those rates have been tweaked off and on over the years, and I think we're better than we used to be, but those comments are, I think, appreciated. And I don't want to say, these rates are all fluid, but we have changed them off and on over the years to try to be more accommodating. So
I mean,
that's
even
something
for me being an
to consider.
Auburn resident,
Yeah.
I don't get anything from Auburn at the farm because I'm a state route. So it's, it's not like you're coming and doing my ditches or doing anything, it's just, but something like this is like.
Yes, you do get something from us.
What?
You have fire and rescue.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
Well, that's just
I-
incidental.
Yes, I know.
Hey, John,
Yep.
mark down that if you get a call from there,
He's already on my list.
just go like 15 minutes later.
I'm not, I understand, I'm talking about, like
Just
service.
estimated what it would
service-wise.
cost it to be saved,
That's right.
and we'll put that toward his animal hall bill.
So, I mean, it's just something to look at, because it's, just do it for the residents. You don't have to give them 2 hours in advance, you can give them 45 minutes in advance if you have to. It's just something to look at. I mean,
Yeah.
when I worked for Bedford Heights, I mean, at one time they had money, and the community center was pretty much free, and they just let them use it. But there's no reason you do need to charge for that to maintain it, or it will fall apart. So the fees are reasonable. Just be more accommodating if they're a resident.
Well, when we go to redo those costs, we'll take that into consideration. We've done different things and tried to be competitive with the market. And, but on the one hand, and I think as a resident, you appreciate this being a businessman, I'm trying to make it pay for itself.
Yeah.
And there's no sense that the guy who never ever has all he does is vote there. He shouldn't have to pick up the tab for some other party, so to speak. So that's the idea behind it. Try to make it reasonable, but also make it self-sufficient in there. And,
I mean, you're paying your cleaning service,
Yeah.
you're getting it cleaned and.
oh, we have
that-
lots, Craig, we have so many people screaming, "Well, I don't need it cleaned, you know
They'll
it."
never clean it the way you want.
That's
Right.
So
exactly right.
that's even acceptable. But just the setup time is all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I'm not opposed to throwing it in.
So what would you say would be a reasonable setup time?
Just give
Set
them
up and
40,
we're saying
if
like
you
a
gave
half
them
an hour,
45
45
minutes or
minutes.
something.
During business hours, or when were you in there on a weekend, Craig?
That's coming up.
Okay.
It's
Where it gets tricky is,
if we got an event right before, it can be tricky.
No,
But the one thing that we've talked about, or at least Nancy and I have looked at, is, I don't know that we have a minimum rental time. We rent by the hour.
Right.
But if we had a minimum time, include that as part of it.
We did that at one time, Fred. We had a 4-hour minimum,
And everybody complained about
and
that.
everybody complained about it because
where it
of
gets to
the.
be an issue that I've seen is events like weddings. Because people can go pretty crazy on setups with weddings. I mean, they're putting taffeta hanging around everywhere, and and it's like, yeah, we're having a 4-hour wedding, but we're gonna need this thing for 3 days. Can you give it to us free for 3 days? But we're only having the wedding for 4 hours. So I could say allowing a reasonable setup time, but in certain instances, like, if it's gonna take you 2 days to set up, you gotta pay for the building for 3 days.
Well, I
It's
think
just-
Craig's talking about throwing that for a resident too. as opposed to non-residential.
Yeah.
Regardless, if I gotta pay and clean it and have a guy there, it's an expense, it's a business expense. And, you know, I'm not opposed to considering when we do the rates again, but
Okay. And one other thing, having completed my building, a new restaurant, I've had, during the whole process, people have asked me, did Auburn give you a hard time? And I've constantly defended Auburn, the township, the fire department, the county. I got all green tags. Everybody has been so accommodating here, and that's gonna be good for businesses in the future. So I've always stuck up for you. A friend of mine built a Napa in Manaway, and wish he would have never built it there.
he actually moved it outside of the,
He's still in Manaway.
That's still
and
down
the
the
old-
I
village?
thought he moved it just on the
No.
other side of the line.
He's in there, and he hated Portage County, he hated Manaway Township, or the village there, whatever. But nobody wants to move down there, so
Is it Denzinger?
this, I'll defend you to the end.
I appreciate that, and we're glad to have you do put investment down there, to be honest with you. Very happy that you invested all that money
In my retirement.
Yeah, you'll be working till you're 100, but really, I hope you're the first domino that's gonna start. We've actually had some interest in the corners now. People thinking, oh, well, maybe this is a viable place.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence that they see your place there, and now there's some action, yeah.
I think it's a viable place, and I could be the spark. I mean, if we can get more people down there, that benefits everyone.
Thank you, Craig.
Wanted to
We'll
thank
talk,
Auburn.
stay in touch on that, and we'll, yeah, it is, John said, and Mike said, that this has been addressed before. We're trying to find the sweet spot here, and we're still looking, but we wanna keep that effort up. Anyone else? You? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little confused about the upcoming interview for the seasonal driver.
Driver.
I thought I heard mention of Monday evening,
Yes,
so that would be
Next
the
Monday.
evening of the next trustee
Right.
meeting.
next Monday.
Next
Next
Monday at
Monday?
7 o'clock, that would be the 22nd.
Oh, okay.
We're not having it at the next meeting, we're gonna have a special meeting, because we
Right.
wanna
Okay,
get that expedited.
okay.
Okay, anything else? Anyone else? Going once, twice?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Here, sign this stuff.
John,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
PJ,
Yes.
8:34.
Okay, John, I got this done.
Hey, Craig, can I get
It only took me a month.
So you want me to go ahead and set it up
Now,
there?
go ahead and make a call, would you please?
I will do.
And then,
you?
well, let, hey, Mikey, we're gonna have to order